Hello everyone, I'm Bill again, and this is I'm here with Sheila Duvall, and we're excited to have her as part of our interview sessions. So we're going to get right into it pretty quick. I want Sheila, if she would, to tell us just a little bit about her story, and then we're going to relate that to how you as a teacher can possibly help kids in your classroom. Okay, Sheila, would you please just share a little bit about what's happened to you over the last, I guess, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, 20. I'm Sheila Duvall, and I was struck 3 times with suicide, tragic violent crime, and gun violence. I lost my brother in 2002 to a tragic violent crime. He was beat to death and left in the snow. In 2006, my nephew was diagnosed with mental health, and he committed suicide on him and my mom. And in 16, I lost a nephew to gun violence, and 10 months later, 2017, I lost my son to gun violence.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, as you look at the tragedies, and let's start with your son here. What would you say could have been different, or could you see maybe trauma in his life that caused him eventually to lose his life? Talk just a little bit about trauma and how that fits into all this.
Okay, so, as a single parent, we have to be both parents. We have to be the father and the mother. So, I worked, and I made sure that my kids were, taken care of for as getting them clean clothes for school, making sure they had food to eat. And I did everything I could possibly do. But at a certain age in your child life, all kids are going to get a little rebellious. But that's never not enough that you can't step in. Long as you try, you don't have a fail. So I tried to make everything good by putting him in an alternative school, which that set the bar. I did everything. I even purposely had him arrested because he was addicted to K2, and I knew that I could get him help because Obama passed a law that spice and K2 smoking, they could, get rehabilitated. And because he was skundaling at the time of his addiction, I was able to get that put forth and had him arrested purposely and put him in jail. But because of what racketeering he was doing before I had him arrested, a young man was still holding a grudge on him. And he was only gone 6 months when I had him sent to jail, and he was only home not even a month before he got his life taken. So with that happening, it kind of flipped me backwards, like, I beat myself up because I thought that me putting him in jail and doing all these things, and then his life got taken, it hit me really hard. And it hit me to the point that I was feeling guilty about me helping my own son when the system really failed me, because I did everything to approach with them to try to get everything I needed for my child. So the grieving, it don't get better, but I know that by me doing things like planting flowers and calling my son name, just acknowledging him, it gives me the strength to carry on. And it's not an easy situation, and I would never tell anybody that it's easy, because we don't have a time limit when we're going to drop a tear, when we're going to feel sad, or even think about our loved ones, what they will be doing, on this day. So, it's real hard. And it just take a lot of dedication and motivation to try to know that you can't change what you can't change what happens, so you have to accept what it is. And that alone, you know, is just a battle within itself.
So let's go back, and your son's name was?
My son's name was Derek Antoine Duvall.
Okay, so can I call him Derek?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go with Derek, and let's put him back into junior high and high school.
Mhm.
Okay. Had he, before this, would you say, had he been exposed to trauma before his junior high and high school, or during that, to where that you could tell that something was wrong? Not necessarily the drug addiction, but the trauma. Could you see any trauma that was happening in his life?
Yeah, because you know, when you're missing a parent, okay, that plays a big part. And what I mean by that is, kids are a product of your environment. So missing a dad and you only got your mom, and then you see your friends mom and dad at a game, or you see mom and dad interacting or setting rules and boundaries for that child, you know, you feel a sense of left out, and that causes inside trauma, because your kid is wanting love, and then there go the acting out. You know, they start getting into things, you know, because they don't have that other part of the love that they're looking for. And being a single parent, you setting the bar to making sure that you doing your part, but your part is not gonna never be enough because they're missing that other parent. And that plays a big role in a lot of kids, you know, because they're gonna fall into the system. You know, they get rebellious because they don't have that other parent, or, you know, they're not able to get certain things that they need for school, or they have to, you know, fall short on certain things because their parent is not around. And that does give a child trauma.
So a lot of the times when we think of trauma, we think of some traumatic event, or we think of maybe ongoing trauma, whether it's living with parents that that are taking drugs all the time, or abusive, or something like that. That's kind of what we think of trauma. But what I hear you saying is there's a lot of trauma and a lot of that goes on with not having both parents. So and I would agree with that. There's a lot of that going on right now. A lot of single parenthood. So as you go back into and you look at this in junior high and high school, well, first of all, did you hear from any of his teachers that wanted to help, and did he necessarily look at some of the teachers as role models, and why?
Okay, so prime example, Derek wasn't doing his homework, and the teacher, you know, reached out to me and, you know, told me what was going on. So I said, okay, I'll be up there. So what I did is I put curlers in my hair, and I put that stuff on my teeth like you do for Halloween, and I put old dusty robe on and some old dirty house shoes, and I went and sat in every class with him. And it was like, oh my goodness, I will do everything I can to keep my mama from this school. So I was just, you know, doing the things that I knew that I could get his attention.
So why did you?
And it worked.
You were trying to embarrass him in a way. You said, "That's my mom back there."
Well, I was trying to set the bar to him that I have time. I can make time and sit in every class with you because I want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And if this is what it takes for me to get you to pay attention and understand that your teacher has got you in the best interest. You see what I'm saying? So by me doing that, he started getting where he had to go, and I didn't have that problem with him no more. He was applying, he was bringing in his homework, even when the middle school left the lockers open so kids could be able to come and get their work. He would run back to the school if he left something. Mama, I'm going to get my homework, and he would go get it, and he come on back home and do his homework.
So can you think of any teachers that had an influence and had that did something that may have helped him in some way?
Yeah, Coach Clay, he was a coach at Lake Hamilton, and Derek was really good in basketball, so he inspired him to play, ball, keep his grades up, and he would reach out and, let us know, look, he's a good kid, we just need to work with it,
Right.
But once again, teachers, to me, is firsthand with your child.
Yeah.
So when they see any kind of rebellious or any isolation, no involvement, I think they could take a better approach in trying to see what's going on, because a lot of kids don't share with you what they're going through. They might have a mom that stay on the couch and be drinking from the time they go to school to the time they get home. They have no dinner, they have no clean clothes. So what is that child supposed to do when they look for that mom, that parent, to apply this to them? You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
then they go to school, they get bullied because their clothes are not clean, they don't have the right shoes, so you have to put all that in the aspect of it. So you do have some teachers that show concern, and then you have some that don't. It's like a bag of apples and oranges. You have some good and you have some bad. But when you find a teacher that show concern, they need to be really highly appreciated.
Yeah.
Because it is stressful. But it's even more stressful when you know that this child is in trouble and nobody's reaching out to them.
Yeah, that's frustrating for
It's
you
frustrating,
at home.
yeah.
I can see that. So if you had some advice to teachers, and you've given just a little bit right there, and I appreciate that. If you're giving advice to teachers about kids that maybe are growing up in that kind of situation, what would you say?
I would say to them is every child deserves to have a chance. And no matter the race of the child, they deserve to have a chance to get an education, to get some understanding, and to know that they're appreciated for showing up at school. And they need to know that even though they're not their parent, they still one-on-one with their child for 8 hours. So I think a little effort in giving them the right kind of understanding, the right kind of commitment and dedication to them as a human being makes a big difference too.
Okay. So, and thank you for sharing that, because that's I think that's good with all kids, no matter if they're going through trauma or not. And that's one of the things in our program that we're going to be emphasizing is that some of the solutions that we have are good for all kids, and not just kids that are going through trauma. So here's a question for you. I know our focus mainly is for teachers that are dealing with children. Okay, that's our main focus in this particular class. But could you maybe help some of these teachers that let's say went through COVID, that had trouble with that are actually going through trauma themselves? Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say has helped you the most in trying to? I mean, you've mentioned four family members that have been killed, 5 that have been killed just in the last 20 years, and your son relatively recent here. So what would you say to teachers in saying, here's something that's helped me in trying to deal with the trauma?
Well, the things that help me is you have to understand all parts of everything, because you know it's a lot of things that people fail to remember, that people have feelings. You know, it's all about respect. You know what I'm saying? So when a teacher go through a trauma of theyself, like catch COVID, can't come to class, you know, they go through a lot too, because that's their income.
Yeah.
And, you know, the salary is not that high. So, you know, and things are not so accommodated for them like it would be if I caught COVID and was working somewhere, you know. And it's like they have a lot of stuff they have to deal with as well. You know, you're not going to feel at your best coming off of COVID. You're not going to want to do a lot of things, you know, that you was normally doing, because COVID takes you down like that. So I think, you know, they need to be appreciated and accommodated to have therapy for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and be able to express how they feel, you know, what their journey was, you know, so they mentality don't affect the kids when they do come back. You feel what I'm saying? Because they're still going through, they ain't got no kind of therapy, no kind of, you know, repercussion on what it is that they going through. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay, so here's, and not to cut you off here, but I'm going to ask you, I'm going to pinpoint this down just a little bit. So you got teachers, and yes, do they need counseling?